service vehicles. I've given you the 1 billion, just projection on the lowest.
What's the source of that data?
Using the tariffs. I'm getting it from the registrar of companies and so on.
No,
you know how many matatus we have. For example, when I say about 200,000 registered vehicles, it could be minus or plus.
Okay.
So these are just figures. And I'm just giving an example, because if we focus on this, and Sige agrees that this is something that can be worked on, and we move now to the next level where we discuss with the ministry, discuss with the parliamentary committee, I think we can begin opening up the minds of the players who need to resolve this issue to understand where the money is. Otherwise, we'll keep crying, and musicians will keep thinking that royalties, and Bwana Sige has just said when we were on the break, royalties is actually income number 6 on the value chain of music business. So if we make it like it's number 1, I had a conversation with Dr. Piso just before I came to this, and he had sent me a very, serious message. I've invested in this industry. I have toiled. You would think it's a shop you opened, put, things there, and the people are stealing. That's not the way it works. Royalties is just an element of the music business.
Are you discrediting his concern?
No, I'm not discrediting. We're in a very good conversation. In fact, there is a friend. Well, I'm using him because he's a friend, and we have other relations. I'm just saying, and this is the same thing I told him. It's the same thing I told Bahati. He's a friend of mine. These are friends of mine who, when they got the little money, they went up in arms and they called me. Then I told them, are you aware about how much we have collected? Because for you to distribute, you must collect. And the thing is, if this 1 billion from the matatu industry since 2019, and we're talking of an estimate 1 billion per year, they have not paid since 2019, and the government sees nothing wrong with that, there must be somebody who is in bed with that industry for them not to pay. Which brings the question, so you want to support the use of music by the public service vehicles, by taxis, by Ubers and so on, and you don't see the value of a musician who has contributed, who has made that song that is being played to entertain the passengers. I think this is a serious issue. I've talked about the broadcasting stations and how much you can raise. Again, when you look at it, it's another 1.8 billion on the minimum. Skiza Tunes, for example, from statistics in 2017, Skiza Tunes raised paid MCs, the musicians, about 1.4. We're estimating that in 2023, they can pay about 5 billion. But if you look at the published information that we have to date, Skiza platforms raked in close to 15 billion Kenya shillings in the last financial year. Okay? If you were to just get 15% of that, look at how much money would go into the pockets of musicians. And why are we not discussing these areas?
That's correct, because if you look at the world standard, okay, of ringback tunes and everything, actually the 15% should be what Safaricom and the PRSP stake, and they should be paying the rest.
85.
And remember, the president, the Gladys Wanga bill last year, raised that amount that is owed to should accrue to the musician from 16% to 52%.
Yes.
It has not been complied with.
No.
And the government is here.
No, it has. I've confirmed.
Where? To who?
Yes, I asked this question.
I would want to get the evidence. Yes. Let me not, because I don't
have
it.
Because even you, there's no basis of your accusation. But
no. You have said they have complied.
Yes.
So I want to see the evidence. That's what I'm saying.
That's fine. You will get
Yes.
I'm saying.
But I think there is a lot of money in Skiza in the ringback tunes.
Is it also on the CS's desk?
Which one?
The one you're saying the...
it's the regulator, so yes, statistics.
No,
you can tell us.
I asked questions. I asked this question to Safaricom, and they informed me, and they gave me the statistics.
Okay.
So I know.
Obviously, it's given to the middleman.
It is given to the brokers.
It's given to the brokers.
PRSPs.
Yeah. Now, that is something now that...
Those are cartels that are really killing the industry.
Given to the cartel.
If this money was coming through the CMOs, and they use 30% in administration, there would never be a problem of CMOs spending musicians' money.
So at the moment,
that's the way it works in South Africa, where we have come from.
At the moment, have you complied with the 30-70%?
How do you comply when we are raising 10 million?
When instead of raising a billion, we're raising 200 million.
I've told you have not complied.
So
first of all,
what do you do? Do you lay off the staff?
Exactly. You have bills to pay.
You see, this is the conundrum that we're in right now, is that we used to earn 600 million. We used to collect 600 million, okay, in 2014, right, 8 years ago. We're now collecting 200 million, all right? Now, the question is, do you lay off your staff so that you then do not go to the public performance? Like now, we've just paid public performance, okay, as camp. And I'm very proud to say we've paid 50% of our collections, okay? And that's just in public performance, all right? Without the broadcast, without the batatus, without all the other collections, which we'll have 2 more collections this year.
And then the point I wanted to add
distributions, okay? So now, if you are earning less, okay? Now, do you say, we're earning less, so we need to lay everybody off so that we'll collect less? Or do you say we need to keep everybody on so that we can collect more?
So it's a balance between your...
By the way, that MCSP got there in 2017, I think, when he took away the license. And suddenly, you have 200 employees. Suddenly, you can't pay them. They take a break. COVID comes a few years later, and you get into all that. We have been paying debts accruing from that time because suddenly you have no license. It was given to another organization, which did
Even
not...
as it stands, you don't have a license.
But that is here. He can tell you why we don't have, but we have a court orders. So I think matters that are in court, we will not discuss them here. We have court orders. Court orders are as good as we are in operation. I don't think he has anything to complain about. When the court rules, we'll comply with the court orders. As it is now, the court has ruled that we continue collecting, and we are collecting, and that's why we paid. However, it is different when you work together with the regulator and there is support from the government than when you are operating with the court orders. And our approach going forward would be to have a relationship where the regulator does their work, we do our work, everybody does their work. And I agree with him, there's been failure, systemic failure at so many levels. You can't just pinpoint one person. The main point here, Dan, is that when you collect less, you pay less. This money does not come through a pipeline. It's collected by human beings. We have staff who collect. We have offices across the region who must be paid. We have rents and so on. So when you collect 10 million, you don't just pay 10 million. You will have to remove all that. There's withholding tax and so on. By the time you pay, it is peanuts. And that's what I was saying. We also need to educate the public to know that the life of a musician, the income of music business, is not dependent entirely on royalties. It's important to have CMOs that are thriving in South Africa, where we've just come from. They are raking in billions. They're doing very well. There's no complaint because you don't need to employ 100 people to follow broadcasters. They know that they ought to pay.
Okay, I just want to quickly pick up before I come to Susan with the regulator. So they've shared a point on saying that whatever they've collected, it's a balance between do we do away with our staff so we can comply with the 70%, which is a legitimate concern if they have not collected what they want. So from where you sit, what kind of concessions are there in terms of just allowing them to, like she said, they've done 50%, which is what they could. What concessions are there?
Even for them to pay 50% was negotiated with my office, because they gave me an explanation, and we agreed that in the circumstances that they were in, 50% was justified, and they can account, and that's what I'm asking even him.
So you're saying he has not given you all the documents you need?
For many years.
Which document?
No,
I started distributing last week.
Let him.
No, you can't allow that. We ran an advert and said we would distribute between March and May.
I think it's only fair to let him first of all.
I even forgot what I was talking about.
No, you were saying that we negotiated the 50%.
Now, secondly, so the thing is, what we had agreed with the CMOs, and that is something that we had agreed from 2019. We said, you'll have 30%, but you also have a cap. So you know what cost you have per month. If you keep to that cap, we can live with that. Yes, we know to build a CMO is not something I can do now and then tomorrow I'm operating. It takes sweat, blood, and many things, lives. people spending time volunteering for many years, building a brand. So we are not callous and careless to think that our CMO is useless. And we know that they are an agent. So for us, we want, if it's clear. Well, yes, but at some point, from my experience, and the forensic audit that we did told us that there were a lot of things that were not being reported truthfully. We usually ask for budgets. At the end of the year, you find budgets, particularly for board expenses, is really the biggest expenditure. Bigger sometimes, in the case of two of your organizations, bigger than even the staff emolument. Some things don't make sense. And when I ask questions, it's a problem. So it's not, we don't have an issue. We don't hate each other. We don't have to love each other. But we need to ask questions. It's my responsibility to ask questions. And when I don't receive answers, I have to take that action. So I'm saying we are not unreasonable.
This guy is sounding like a prefect, a principal of a school and lecturing children.
So
this is business. These are private companies. They are not questions you ask.
I'm saying
you just need to get out of your high horse and understand this is business. Let me give you a good example. You see this case? This case was published by The Nation last week. MCSK wins 62 million in fees row with Ogenda. He's the one who caused it. We went into the same agreement he's saying. I was not there, but these are records that he cannot controvert. He said, withdraw this case. MCSK can go over the same license issue. Then he said, withdraw, I give you a license. Do you know how much we paid to get that, to apply for that license? 5 million. One, the rules say it is not refundable. So MCSK pays 5 million. He does not see anything wrong with that. For a license that costs 5 million to apply for a license for 1 year, and then it's non-refundable. So it was not refunded. And he managed to dupe the leadership then to agree to this out-of-court agreement and withdraw the case. Ogenda, who was representing MCSK, went to court and slapped us with 62 million bill because we were duped to withdraw the case. Now, let me just argue the case. If Ogenda had won this case...
The case against who?
It is here. It is here.
I know the viewer can't see, so
I'm just saying this was a case where MCSK had gone to court to defend its position from being denied a license. Then the regulator comes and says, withdraw these cases, let us get into a drawing board. And we pay the 5 million. Very painful. By the way, I don't believe whether it's the law or the constitution, it is moral for anyone to ask for 5 million for a license. I don't know who else pays that much. However, look, he managed to convince people to withdraw this case. And I'm saying, if this case, which we won last week, had gone against us, we would never even afforded the 10 million that we paid last week.
Okay.
Why? No. I'm just giving an example that we would be now entering into arrangements with these lawyers to pay money belonging to musicians to be paid to lawyers. These are the issues.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying, if we find a solution and say, let us have the presumption of good faith. Sige is holding a public office. It is not personal. And I want you to understand that I'm not against him.
Yes, and that's why
I have a lot of respect for him because I work with him. I'm just saying...
Quite aside from that, because and not to defend Kekobo or Sige, but there are other issues where as CMOs, I think we're not quite agreeing. For instance, the case of which is why I thought this 62 million. There was the 69 million that the broadcasters owed us.
Yes.
That one of the CMOs actually went and
you appeared before the committee on Thursday.
and withdrew that case. And you see, those are the things for me.
That was different. No, we were not involved.
No, it was two.
It was both. It was Camp and Priest.
I have seen minutes where
it was Camp and Priest. We were not involved in that.
Camp was not involved, right?
Yeah.
Where the directors are not involved, and really what it resulted in is the disenfranchisement of the members.
Let me put it this way, Suzanne. When you go to court as two parties, both of you have advocates. Advocates receive instructions from two different people who are their principals. So when the matter has to be withdrawn, the advocate has to receive instruction from the
But
person
apparently
who,
did not. And that's what we will find out on Thursday.
Yes.
So we're not
Because
involved
the
in that one.
documentary
That is
evidence
for
will
you
be
and
there.
that is come
Yes.
and preach.
So maybe let him finish.
So you cannot say that one party went and they managed to withdraw. The court requires that all the parties.
But anyway, actually, the point I was making is that we can save a lot of money by
talking.
the presumption of good faith that I talked about.
Okay.
That's
Agreeing
true. That's
that we are all here for artists.
Very true.
The principal player
There's
here
a lot of work to be
Not
done in
artists,
terms
should
of...
be
For
artists.
the
Yeah.
industry. Me, I don't want us to talk about
Wait,
artists.
I
Let's talk about the
I
ecosystem,
represent
the
that is so.
industry.
You are right.
Yes.
You are
And
right also.
I represent the investors.
You are right. You are
and
right.
the
I agree with you.
producers.
I think just to... We've talked about the royalties and the likes, and some of these are boardroom situations.
These are administrative issues that we can
yes.
sort out, and
So,
they can be worked on.
Something that Suzanne mentioned, that, I mean, you've been in music for years, and you've said that you've brought up your children through money from music. Maybe you could explain to us what are these avenues that you know, into what platforms did you get to make money through music enough to take children to school? Because we've also said, with a hypothetical example, that royalties is number 6 in the list of. So we can expand as we come to a close.
If you imagine, I started with a studio in a bedroom, okay, but that studio was recording music and recording artists. So by the time the studio that was built, etc. Okay, so you have the production house. Okay, you have the signing of artists, you have the sales. There was a time I was. Sorry guys, I'm taking you on a history lesson.
It's okay.
Samude of Dereva Chunga Maisha.
Yes.
He asked me once in 2000, do you have a VAT number? And I said yes. He said, look, I've got a deal to sell Kenyan music in Uchumi, but I don't have a VAT number. Come and take this deal. And so we started selling music in Uchumi. Okay? And that's when we sold all over. Gopa, Diomisiani, Prison Squire, whoever it was who wanted to sell their music. Okay? And so there was the sales, the actual sales of physical CDs, cassettes and CDs and whatever. Okay? So there's that. There's performances. Okay? That you go and you gig week in, week out. All right? Then we did festivals. I used to do Simba Star Search. Okay? Which was a talent search. I mean, there were so many things we were doing. And we were doing them because we were just passionate about the business. Okay? So royalties were, in fact, at that time, I remember being thrown out of MCSK by Jennifer Shamala because we were producers and producers, and she only wanted authors, composers, and publishers, which she was correct on. But we didn't understand because there was, at that time in 1986, there was only one CMO. Okay? And that's when...
you got formed.
We were then asked to form in the 90s, in the late 90s, to form.
Actually, it was something.
Okay.
But then allow me to make an important point.
Briefly, because
that
we have to come close.
CMOs are private companies, registered under the Companies Act, limited by Nigeria MCSK, 40 years down the line, serving members. Members, and this is a free economy. No one will stay in MCSK if it is not serving their purpose. Because nobody's holding a gun. We are hoping that we are serving our purpose, and that's the reason why they are with us, and they are complaining from within. They have not left. If anyone has left, I can tell you in December I registered over 1,000 members. So if 1 or 2 leave, don't lay emphasis on that. I mean, it's okay. It's like I gave you an example of Gor Mahia Football Club. Nobody's tied to Gor Mahia. You can move and play for FC Leopards and so on. I'm not saying they should leave. I respect my members a lot. I'm just saying it is a free economy. You register to become a member of MCSK. Some of the misunderstandings that arise that make even people talk the way they are talking is because we dwell on very parochial issues that relate to our relationship with the regulator. And let me tell you, every sector is a regulator, including broadcasting sector. You can imagine, Dan Mwangi, if Media Council decided for you to get Chiloba, let me use the Communications Authority, they are the ones who license you. Because we hear you are not paying journalists well, we are going to be signatory to your account. And that's a condition for us giving you a license. How ridiculous. How ridiculous this day and age for a private company, a government official to put as a condition. I'm the one who rejected this and said, stay with your license. We are a private company. These license conditions must be negotiated. You can't sit somewhere in NHIF building and dictate, even when you are signing performance contract done, whether here, and I've worked here for 9 years, by the way, we used to negotiate with my boss. Tunasema hii inawezekana ama iwezekani. These are my reasons. I can achieve this if you provide me with these resources. You don't sit somewhere and say, one, I must be signatory to your account because presumption of bad faith. I don't trust you can distribute. That's what I'm saying. It's so parochial to sit at a platform like this late at night and start thinking that CMOs are the problem, and you don't see anything wrong with all these things that I'm raising. So then I feel like my time is wasted.
Let me just.
It's a big problem with the regulator.
Susan, just
life will be so much easier.
I acknowledge, but you also have to acknowledge that also Bonasige and everyone on this table has acknowledged that there are issues within the relationship. It has not been thrown out.
I don't even want to say it's the relationship. It's leave the relationship. There are issues within the management of the CMOs. And we must take responsibility.
Which Mutua is dismissed.
No, I'm not dismissing. I'm saying
at the very beginning, when you say corporate governance, you almost believe
that there are issues within the management of the CMOs. No, that's good.
Yeah,
so I'm glad
me.
because we must agree, okay, that we cannot be. And this is what I mean. I was speaking earlier to say when I was a director earlier. In 2009 and whatever, there was no politics around.
You are having a CMO now.
No, yes, yeah. There was no politics around standards.
She's in camp right now.
I am in camp right now.
Maybe
I am in camp right now.
Okay.
So what I am saying is the whole idea that you want to be a director so that you can get director's fees, it should never be more than it should never compete with the royalties and the related rights that you're paying to your members. It should not be something that you're fighting for to become a director. That is what is somehow, for me, as a CMO, it is fundamentally wrong. Okay? And I always say that one of the things I really appreciate Bonasige for was capping directors' allowances. Okay? Because we must say what needs to be paid is the royalties and the related rights, not directors. Okay? Yes, I understand. You must have your secretariat. You must have your people who are collecting. All of that is very necessary. But the whole reason for that is, and we must, I understand there's time that must be taken before we get from 70%, 60%, 50% down to 30% of expenses and 70% collection. It's a journey. But we must mentally, okay, adjust our thinking that directors are not the bosses. The members are the bosses. That is what we must do.
Do you agree with that?
If she can do that in camp, that would be a good model.
So, but do you agree with that?
Thank you.
Absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely.
We must.
Is it something you're pursuing at MCSK?
MCSK is not the first board I've served. I've been, I did 7 years in Kekobo. I've just come from Kenya Film Classification Board. I've grown institutions from the scratch. I used to fund him just before I left KFCB to support CMOs. I am not a novice. I am an accomplished CEO. This is the point. The issues of administrative, finances, who is paid how much, would not arise then if we collected as we should.
Also plus.
If really we collected this 1 billion from the matatu industry, from businesses, if we collected this for Skiza Tunes is 1.something billion, would be raking in as the 3 CMOs, is 2 billion. If you collect from just the estimates that Safaricom itself has given, we'll be collecting about 3 billion per year. Honestly, if you were to take that percent of 3 billion, why would you ever? We would be funding actually Kekobo, would be funding the ministry, would be funding musicians to go into collaborations and co-productions abroad. The problem is you're being parochial. We are focusing on 10 million collected last month.
And I think,
how can that resolve this problem?
So
when we are not collecting, when there is no license, I talked about, remember I started by the problem is license, which is given at the whims of the regulator, which is wrong. 2, police enforcement, which is the obligation of the government and Article 40 of the Constitution to provide the police to ensure that the government protects intellectual property of its citizens. That is his work. Awareness is the work of Kekobo. It is in the law.
Okay,
Let me finish.
Because you're going over what you'd said before.
Then we come to the governance issues. And let me tell you, these are private companies. These are private companies.
But do you feel it's fair to almost belittle the governance concern, yet even your members have expressed concerns about that?
Those are audit issues, and let me tell you, if anybody is found capable, deal with that individual. You don't kill CMOs because there's an individual.
That's one of the ways the government can actually empower.
Deal with individuals if you suspect
because
there's
the regulator must be empowered to be able to deal with irregularities.
So why has he not done it? Well, are you saying that he's incapable? Are you saying that there's
incapable, but maybe he has not been empowered enough?
No, let's deal with it.
Maybe he can respond because
there's a problem with the governance. I agree.
Okay.
We are still in those issues. I've just given you an example.
Yeah.
Of, for example, when I joined MCSK, I found bills of the debts of about 200 million. We have reduced them to almost 30 million. And I've told you one of the ways we do it is by ensuring that we prosecute cases like this one, which was ruled last week. If we had lost this case, I've told you, we would be paying 62 million. We will not be able to pay royalties.
Okay.
And artists may never know why we are not paying. Okay. So if you don't address 62 million and you're interested with the 10 that you are saying that is even paid to directors, those are issues you can get because nobody's paid money without signing for it.
Just let me.
So those are governance issues that we can deal with.
We need to close
and get to the individuals who have committed any crime.
Just because Bonasigei something has been thrown at you, basically. Is it that you're unable?
No, we are not unable. And actually, we had a forensic audit for 3 years up to 2020. There's a file that, and we sent the file to the DCI, and some people are in court already. We expect 2 or 3 other files to be opened. But having said that, we really wish for a self-regulatory environment within the CMO.
That's true.
But when your members are not able to elect,
now you're talking. Let's come to that one now.
Then, how do you expect government? And you are telling me government, this is a private company, and we are saying, okay, can members have an opportunity to elect according to your memorandum and articles? That's all we are asking. We are not going to force you, but and we can understand. Everything must be negotiated. You must give me commitments. I must be comfortable.
You know, you are our servant.
Yes, of course.
So you must change the tone in which you address the people who are your bosses.
No, I will not change. But I want to address something.
I
want to address something.
I think we need to come to
he's earning through my taxes. I don't earn his taxes.
No problem. But I'm saying I want to address something, which is
briefly, because I'm being told we are going to be the same employer he's talked about maybe getting us off.
I want to address the issue of the sector as a whole. That sectors, things change. You are selling cassettes, and then the CDs came. A lot of people made money that time. And then it went digital. So you have to move with the changes that are there. Many of our artists, unfortunately, are not able to earn on the digital environment, and we need to empower them, and we need to build them. And that is something that the government is planning to do, to ensure that you make your own money. It's your business. You must be able to till, you must be able to monetize, you must be able to negotiate and make your own money out of this. So it's so the royalty thing is very important, but maybe because there are no gigs and there are no sales, probably
let's improve the business.
But the sales are there.
Yes.
The sales are there. We're just not the ones monetizing.
And I think we've talked about governance issues. We don't have the proper governance of this discussion and bring it to an end. I will also be breaching some lines. But a lot has been discussed. A lot has been put on the table in regards to understanding the issues here, the issues which are there. And, you know, there's a capacity to collect, distribution, corporate governance, compliance, enforcement, coordination, which is a very key one. We've seen licensing, awareness, the tariffs, which the government has said there should be good news soon. And just look at the business of copyright and not looking at it as a side gig for the economy. And yes, it's meant to be a very significant...
CMOs as private
Exactly.
businesses.
So thank you very much. I've been having on, with all due respect, Edward Sigei, the Executive Director of the Kenya Copyright Board. That is government, the government voice on this platform. And we've also had Ezekiel Mutua, the CEO of MCSK, and Susan Gashukia Opembe, who is a board member at the Recording Industry of Kenya, also a board member at CAMP, as well as a veteran musician. For those of you Gen Zs downwards who have no idea who she is, go and search for Zanaziki. Go and search. There's a lot of that. Yes, musically speaking as well. She's done a lot. She has earned her stripes. And congratulations. And thank you for honoring us, for being here. Thank you, gentlemen and lady, once again for being on With All Due Respect. No. Kekobo is government. We are looking forward to the good news when you do that. Have yourselves a good night. My name is Dan Mwangi.